What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL tight ends for Week 7. Draftkings main slate. Got a lot of tight ends to get into. Before I do, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on the notification bell. All this stuff really helps me grow. I've had a lot of growth throughout NFL, NASCAR, NBA season, and want to continue going. Try and hit 400 subscribers by Thanksgiving. So hit that little like and hit that subscribe. It takes like 2 seconds. Doesn't take any time at all. And it's free for you guys. So just all that stuff really helps me out. If you want to get more of my content, you can always subscribe to my Patreon. It's only $10 a month. I'll put the link in the description below. But let's get into the tight ends, and we're going to start out with Austin Hooper for the Cleveland Browns at $4,000 on Draftkings. They're going to be playing against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. When we go look at the overall offensive versus defensive matchup, it's going to be positive for Austin Hooper. The line on this game is set at 50 right now, and the Bengals have allowed 9th most points to tight ends this year. When you go look at usage, his usage wasn't really going that strong at the beginning of the year, but in the last 3 weeks, he's definitely seen an uptick in the usage, 7, 10, and 6 targets. So that's actually pretty good. For $4,000, I really like that usage a lot, and the matchup's really good against Cincinnati, who we've seen get torched by tight ends a lot this year. So I think Austin Hooper could be a really good value play to go to maybe in cash games and just in general. If you want to get a value tight end, I think Austin Hooper's fine. We know he always has a ceiling because we've seen it in Atlanta. I mean, completely different offense, but he does have a good ceiling there. So I think Austin Hooper's in play for sure. As is Eric Ebron as well at $4,000. He's going against Tennessee. Overall positive matchup on the offense versus defensive side. The line on this game is 51.5. And the Titans have allowed the 7th most points to tight ends this year. When we go look at Eric Ebron's usage, it is not as much as I was hoping. Only 4.8 targets per game. I mean, we've seen him see 7 and 6 in weeks 3 and 5, but other than that, it's been 5 or less. So that's a little bit concerning, but he does get usage in the red zone a lot. I think with the emergence of Chase Claypool, it's going to take him back a little bit because he's getting a lot of usage in the red zone as well too. So we'll see how good of a play Eric Ebron is, but if you want to get him in tournaments, I think that's fine. I think he's fine for Big Ben stacks. So Eric Ebron, definitely someone to get some exposure to. Probably wouldn't be. I'd rather play Austin Hooper for like the same price, but I think they're both fine plays. Jonnu Smith is, I think he's like 4,700, 5,700. We'll go look. Let's go take a look real quick. 4,700. Yeah, let me try to memorize that. Jonnu Smith's $4,700. Going up against Pittsburgh. It's a tough matchup for Jonnu. The line in this game is 51.5. But it is overall good positive matchup for him, offense versus defense. But the Steelers have been pretty good against tight ends this year, only allowing the 24th most points to tight ends. They are a team that likes to shrink the field, and they want you to beat you from the outside. So that's where someone like A.J. Brown is going to be successful this week, I think. So John is kind of in a tough spot, but he's going to get the volume. Outside last week where he got injured early on in the game, 7, 5, 8, and 7 targets. So he's been getting pretty utilized in the offense. I think he's a good play. I'll probably get some exposure to Jonnu, but I think there's other guys I'd definitely rather go to. Noah Fant being one of those at $4,800 for only $100 more, going up against Kansas City. The offense versus defensive matchup doesn't look so great. The line in this game is 48, but they are going to be playing from behind. And Drew Lock has already shown this year that I think Noah Fant is like his favorite target. I mean, it's only been one game with both of them playing an entire game, but he was definitely utilized a good bit. They've allowed the 19th most points to tight ends so far this year. And we've seen Noah Fant get pretty utilized in the games that he has played. 6, 5, 10, and 6 targets, averaging 6.75 per game. Now, Drew Lock only played the entire game in week 1, and we saw Noah Fant miss last week. And he has been hurt this week, but I think he's trending towards playing. I will say, this game is going to snow. It's 24 degrees. It's supposed to be 24 degrees on Sunday and snowing in Denver, so that's fun. That'll be a fun one. So maybe that's something to worry about. I don't usually like to play anybody in the snow, to be honest. We'll see how heavy a snow it is. If it's just light snow, it's not a big deal. But if it's like a blizzard and stuff, then we're gonna probably want to just get off of this game completely. I'm still gonna watch that game because snow games are the best to watch, but probably not gonna be the best for DraftKings. But I do think Noah Fant's good. He's got some utilization in the passing game recently, so I do like going there. Travis Kelce on the other side of that game against Denver. We go look at the offense versus defense. It is very positive for Travis Kelce. It usually is. Line this game's 48. They're going to be playing from ahead, though. And the Broncos allowed the 18th most points to tight ends. We know Travis Kelce's getting a ton of usage in the passing game here, averaging 8.8 targets per game. He's been the number 1 guy from Mahomes so far this year just because teams are not allowing the Chiefs to throw it downfield. So Travis Kelce really isn't as much of a downfield threat as someone like Tyreek Hill or Mecole Hardman or Sammy Watkins. So Kelce's getting a ton of usage in this game, in his passing game. So I think he is a very good play. He's the most expensive tight end this week, but I love playing Travis Kelce. Like whenever I can fit in Travis Kelce in lineups, I get it. Like he's just such a good tight end, fantastic receiving tight end, and I love getting to him. Darren Waller draws a pretty tough matchup against Tampa this week. He's pretty expensive. the total on this game is going to be in the 50s. That's not exactly what it is right now. I haven't found a line for that yet, but they're not going to be favored in this game. Tam has allowed 21st most points to tight ends this year, and outside of that, he's averaging a ton of targets, like 9.4 per game. He's getting a ton of usage, but he is going to draw a really tough matchup against Levante David and Devin White, two really good linebackers that can cover well, and then he's also probably going to get matched up with sometimes he's going to get matched up with like Jamel Dean, who's a really big and physical corner. I would not be surprised to see him matched up on Darren Waller a lot. So he's going to have a tough matchup. I do think he's not going to be popular, and people probably aren't going to play him, but it's a tough spot for him. I don't really want to I'd rather just pay for Kelsey or Kittle, and I mean, I'm pretty sure they're pretty similar prices. I mean, yeah, Kelsey's only $200 more, Kittle's only $400 more. I'd rather just pay for those guys than Darren Waller, in my opinion. Hunter Henry going up against the Jaguars, I think it's a pretty good spot. I don't think a lot of people are going to get to him. Total on this game is 49.5. And Jacksonville can't stop anybody. They've allowed the 5th most points to tight ends so far this year. And Hunter Henry's been getting pretty good usage this year, averaging 6.75 targets per game. Only one game under 7 targets so far this year. So that's really good for him. I definitely like getting some Hunter Henry this week. He's just in a spot where Jacksonville can't cover anybody. And I like to attack teams that can't cover anybody. So Hunter Henry looks pretty good. I think he's in a really good spot. It's going to be a pretty high-scoring game if you want to stack him with Justin Herbert. I think he's definitely viable in stacks. I love Herbert stacks with Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and Mike Williams this week. So I think Hunter Henry is definitely in play. Logan Thomas goes up against Dallas, and he's only like $3,500. He's definitely like the cheap value tight end this week if you really want to punt it. Look, he really hasn't looked that good, but he's been running a ton of routes, and he's been getting targeted a ton. And he finally got in the end zone last week and put up a good game for, I think it was only $3,300 last week. Only jumps up to 35, and they're playing Dallas, who can't cover literally anything. They've allowed 10th most points to tight ends this year. Now, we saw Logan Thomas start the year 8, 9, 7 targets, but recently only seeing like 4 a game. That's kind of a little concerning. I don't think I really want to get a ton of Logan Thomas. Probably not in tournaments. If you're playing cash, I think he's fine. I don't know if I'm going to go there. I still haven't really made my mind what I really want to do in cash this week. There's just so many good plays. I think it's going to be a tough cash week personally. But Logan Thomas, he's definitely in play for cash if you want to punt tight end. I think he's all right. TJ Hawkinson goes up against the Atlanta Falcons, who have allowed the 2nd most points to tight ends this year, and the game total is 56.5. Hawkinson needs to get utilized more. I mean, he only ran like 30 routes last week. It's good, but like they need to use him more. He's like their 2nd best receiving player on the entire team, in my opinion. Marvin Jones is fine, but Hawkinson's good, bro. Averaging 5 targets per game. He's getting a ton of usage in the red zone, which are great looks for any player. You want to get players that are getting usage in the end zone and the red zone. So TJ Hawkinson is definitely someone I like. Love him for stacks. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Stafford's going to use Hawkinson, I'm sure, a lot. I love Hawkinson in stacks with Stafford as well, with Galladay, Marvin Jones, all those guys. So I think TJ Hawkinson's in a really, really good spot. Robert Tonyan's going against Houston, who is horrible on defense as well. This game's set total is at 57 right now. And the Houston Texans have allowed 13th most points to tight ends so far this year. When you go look at the average targets he's getting, I mean, even that game where he just exploded against Atlanta, like he saw 6 targets. Like, it's not like he's getting super utilized in the offense, but he is getting utilized in the red zone a lot, which is really good. But I do think with Devontae Adams back, it kind of lowers his ceiling a little bit, which is why his price is a little lower. I mean, he's like around 4K range now. I can go look at it for sure. $4,600 for Robert Tonyan, like, it's just not a lot. But I mean, I think there's other guys in that price range I'd rather get to, like especially the guy I'm about to talk to about in a second. So I think he's okay if you want to get there just because he is playing Houston, but I'm probably going to stay away from him. Probably not someone I want to get a ton of exposure to. I think it might be Gronk season. O.J. Howard's out for the season towards Achilles. It sucks, but that has enabled Tampa to use Gronk more. This game's going to be pretty high scoring. They're going to be favored. They're playing Oakland, whose defense is pretty solid. I mean, they've been good against tight ends. So you're only allowing 22 points, 22nd most amount of points to tight ends. But I will say, I say this a lot about tight end DVPs. It's kind of sticky because, sometimes you get teams that utilize tight ends more than others. And when you play a bunch of teams that don't utilize much tight ends, it's going to, skew the stats a lot. So that's not something I really worry about too much when I'm looking at it. But ever since O.J. Howard went out, which was, he got out hurt week 4, week 5, week 6, he's been seeing 6 and 8 targets a game. He's going to utilize in the end zone, getting end zone targets every single week. So I think Gronk at $4,600 may be a great play on this slate. He's just too cheap. I mean, he's got upside because he's freaking Gronk, man. I'm just waiting. I feel like it's just going to happen at one point this year. Gronk's just going to go freaking nuts. And I would not be surprised to see it this week. Oakland's defense isn't, fantastic. They've had trouble guarding receivers pretty much all year. I know Gronk's tight end, but he's still a receiver. I don't really know anybody on that team who can cover him. Like, the linebackers aren't fantastic in Oakland, the safeties aren't either, so, or the corners aren't big and physical. So I think Gronk is just in an absolutely fantastic spot this week. Put him on the cover for a reason, and I think that should continue. He should have a good game. George Kittle's the last game I'm going to talk about, $6,500. I mean, I don't really need to say much about how good George Kittle is. He's the most expensive tight end for a reason. New England is pretty good against tight ends. They've shown that. The thing with New England is, I mean, I pretty much say this every single time I'm talking about the best players playing the Patriots. They find a way that what New England does, they try to stop the best player on the team, and they make you beat him with everybody else. Well, George Kittle's clearly the best player on offense for New England, or for San Francisco, so they're probably going to throw everything at George Kittle. Now, George Kittle could just be that good, and it doesn't even matter, but at $6,500, I'd rather just pay $300 less for Travis Kelce. I think that's probably the better spot, but Kittle is getting a ton of usage in the offense, averaging 11 targets per game. That's the most of anybody on the slate, so he's getting so much usage. He is the number one receiver on that team, so... but I think that's really all I got to say about tight ends. Quick little video as always for the tight ends. I think there's some really good options here. Definitely like Gronk a lot. Definitely like Hawkinson, Hunter Henry, Kelce, and Hooper, and Noah Fant. Probably my guys I like the most. So thank you guys for checking this out. Be sure to look at my other NFL stuff. We got videos for all the positions out already now, as well as top stacks. And then if you're into NASCAR, go check out those as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day.